Welcome to Dead Men Talking Podcast, a show for people who think they're going to live forever eating McDonald's. And now your hosts, Frank and Bill.
Frank, what am I drinking this morning? What did you bring me?
Well, Bill, that is a smoothie for my 369 cleanse that I'm doing this week. October's a rough month for me.
What do you mean?
I have my Halloween party. Halloween's my favorite holiday, and we do a lot of drinking in October. I don't know why. Maybe it's the leaves changing. But I like to have a lot of fun in October, and then I need to reboot my body, at least to keep myself out of rehab.
So you're going healthy on us.
I am. Well, I'm going peaks and valleys. My dad calls me a toaster. I'm either up or I'm down. There's no middle ground for me. So this podcast is me trying to find my middle ground or my middle road. But what you're drinking there is dragon fruit, blueberries, bananas, dehydrated greens, and something called douche.
What? What's it called?
Douche. D-U-L-C-E.
I have been studying this for several years, and I have no idea what you're talking about.
Here do I, but it's a black salt-looking thing. So I got to look that up before I'll tell you. It's douche.
Douche. Okay, I learned something new every day, Frank.
Yeah, so that is supposedly to help detox your body from metals.
From heavy metals?
Heavy metals.
That's good.
Not the music, but the other.
You can still listen to Metallica, but you don't want them in your bloodstream.
Yeah, when you listen to them together, they cancel each other out. It's amazing. So on the last episodes, we went from when you found out you had cancer, diagnosis, to breathe, slow down, let's ask some questions. It's not it could be the end of the world, but it doesn't have to be. It's your choice.
Right.
Getting your head right, meditation, getting your mind leads the way, so to speak.
Yes.
And then finding your advocate or partner. Who's going to help you through this? Because you're going to need somebody or some organization or something to give you that strength.
Yes.
But now you're leaving the hospital and attempt to get back to some semblance of hope or just normalcy. And I looked at it this way. If I had the biggest race in my life and I was a NASCAR driver and I needed to get in peak condition, but the car I had was an Enterprise rent-a-car that I got without insurance on it, basically, because that's what my body is.
You're going to be in last place.
Yeah, it's beat up. But what do I got to do to that car to get it race ready? And that's almost strip it down, get it cleaned out, build it back up, and put it in optimal performance. So
good analogy.
That's the way I looked at it, but I don't have cancer, and I wasn't coming out of the hospital about to go into chemo. You were. So what was going through your head when it comes to detoxing? Because that's what we're going to talk about today, is detoxing, cleanses, all these things that we hear about. But what was going through your head?
Well, that was a good question. And, all of this was brand new to me, so I didn't really understand what a detox was. I didn't know the level of detoxing, what could be done, what methods were out there. So I was really new to it. All I knew is I had just been through this brutal regimen of chemo and blood transfusions, and my body was beat up, but I was alive. So I'm out of the hospital after a couple weeks, come back home, and all the reading I'd been doing basically said, look, your body got cancer for some reason. And we can talk about that too, what the doctors say about what that is, which is amazing after 50 years of a war on cancer, trillions of dollars. And all my doctors were kind of like, I don't know. We don't know why you got cancer. I'm like, that's really freaky.
Did your doctor smell bong resin?
Was he the last in his class? No. That's the thing, is that these tremendously intelligent doctors, they don't believe they know why people get cancer. They'll tell you how many people get it, what the statistics are, 1 in 2 men, but they don't know why. And that was odd to me. They're like, well, you're going to die. We don't have a cure, and we don't know why you got this. And I'm like, geez, you would have thought by now you would know what causes it. So I was kind of flying blind, and the only thing I had been reading was that, number one, I got cancer for a reason. There must have been something wrong in my body, something wrong with my system to allow this. So either something external in the environment or something I was putting in my body, and that seemed to make sense to me. And since the oncologist really didn't know and didn't have an answer, and they didn't have a plan to heal me. They had a plan to try to keep me alive, but not to heal me. This idea of cleaning out my body and getting my car ready, stripping it down, seemed to make sense to me. And plus, they'd put all this biohazard. I mean, I don't know if people really think about this, but every time they would bring me chemo, they look like they're in hazmat suits, so they don't get any on them. And it's got a biohazard sign on it. They walk up to me and they stick it in my body. And I thought, that can't be good for me long term. I mean, it's saving my life, but that can't be healthy. So I want to get those toxins out now that they've done their job. And I want to start cleaning up my body. How do I do that? And so the first thing I read about was a juice cleanse. And so I was like, I don't know, that seems to make sense. I certainly wasn't a guy that I had never juiced before. I mean, I probably didn't eat near enough salads and veggies. And so I thought, okay, this seems to make sense, that the idea is cleanse your system out, get rid of that old rotting food in your intestines, all this stuff. And I said, okay. So I went on literally a 2.5 month juice cleanse where I did eat food in between there some of the time, but I was drinking 8 to 12 green juices a day with perhaps a beet and a carrot thrown in there for variance. But that was my first attempt at detox.
Is that, you found that on the internet, or how'd you find that?
Well, I did find it on the internet, but I had a coach. I had a guy that had been studying health for 20 years, and William King. He's written books on, doing fasts and intermittent fasting and just overall health, because he changed his health through diet, nutrition, and a variety of things. And so he said, hey, read this, look at this. He didn't give me the answer. He just said, here are doctors and MDs and other healers around the world, and here's what they say about getting your body cleaned up. And so I read them and I said, okay, this is the first thing. I didn't know. I mean, Frank, I'm just coming out of the hospital. It's, my wife and I, gee, what are we going to do? We're in this tragic situation. And I said, okay, let's do something. Let's not do nothing.
Yeah.
Let's do something. So I started buying, oh my gosh, it cost me a small fortune, but I was learning to juice, but I was buying it at first, and it was a small fortune to drink this much green juice every day. So they gave me discounts because I was buying so many, and that's how I started.
I should hope so. I mean,
yeah, right.
You're buying 7-8 juices a day.
That's right.
I know when I go to my juice store, it's about $8 a juice.
Yeah.
For a small one.
Right.
So that could add up pretty quickly.
Oh, and it did. But we decided, no, look, when they say you're going to die, we're like, spare no expense. Let's do whatever we can.
Yeah.
So that was it. And
So
Frank,
what does a juice cleanse do? I mean, what's this? I mean, I'm sure you're a Googler. I mean, so I know you looked it up. I mean, what's it do to your body?
well, and so this is one of the things, is that when I first started reading and looking at stuff, there were doctors out there that said, hey, this is a bunch of hooey, don't waste your time on it. And as a matter of fact, I pulled up this article. This is from Harvard Medical School, and this says, it's trusted advice for a healthier life. It sounds really, really good. And but
it's from Harvard.
Yeah, it's from Harvard, right? So it's from Harvard. So it must be right. Everything they say is right. It was published in May of 2008, and the title of the article says, "The Dubious Practice of Detox." And so just the headline alone says, oh, this must be a bunch of garbage. This can't be real. But as you read the article, it says, well, it starts out saying, internal cleansing may empty your wallet, but is it good for your health? And it goes on, and it says, what's a detox? It talks about what it is, and it goes into nasal irrigation. I wasn't overly worried about my nasal passages at the time. It talks about detox diets, but it really addresses it more from a point of losing weight. I wasn't worried about losing weight, Frank. I was worried about cleaning my system out. So sometimes when you talk about health and detox, some people are talking about it to lose some weight. That's not what I was looking at. I was trying to get the toxins out of my body, and this was just the first thing I'd come across. So the whole idea is these green juices, you want to fix your gut, because our guts get screwed up with bad food, and that's a whole podcast in and of itself. But you want to clean up your gut and get the bad stuff, meats in your system. It takes more energy for your body to digest meats. And when you're fighting cancer, you want every energy and cell in your body to work on your immune system to fight the disease. And so I wanted my system to be at optimal performance. It clearly was not when I was in the hospital. And so that's just where I started with getting these green juices to flush everything out of my system. And boy, when I say flush, I mean whoosh.
Oh yeah. So we didn't see you for weeks.
That's right. There's a lot of time in the bathroom, Frank. I'm just going to say.
Well, and it's so funny because when I think of detox, I think of nights out after drinking. We call them the DTs, where I'm shaking. I want McDonald's. I'm feeling really bad.
Right.
But then, you started talking about cleansing and detoxing to me and what that really meant. And there's a difference. Cleansing is trying to get your digestive tract back on, or digestive system back on track.
Right.
Because basically your liver and kidneys are your filtration system. They're getting all the bad stuff out. And if they're not working properly, you're keeping all that bad stuff in and repumping it through your body.
Well, and this is a great point, because a lot of MDs will say, well, your body is this amazing system that detoxes for you. And that is true. It does. But logic would say, for the doctors that say, oh, don't worry about what you eat, your body will detox it for you. Well, it does, but it would stand to reason for me, if I'm throwing really bad crap in there and making my system work harder to get it out of my system, that can't be as easy on my body. So why don't I, A, stop putting the crap in so it's easier on my body, and B, do something that allows my body to clean out faster? Because for me, it was about speed. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to take my time and let my body do it. My body was clearly screaming for help. Cancer diagnosis is a sign something's wrong.
Yeah.
And so it seemed logical to me. And I'm like, okay, let me do something to help my body out of what it does naturally.
Well, it kind of makes sense. I mean, I go back to the car analogy. If you're there's 3 different types of gas on every pump. And you're not putting maple syrup in your oil tank. You're putting oil because that's what's supposed to go there.
Right.
So regardless of what your belief is, if God made us or science made us or whatever,
right,
when it was made, there weren't preservatives. There weren't plastic bottles.
Right.
There weren't these things that nature did not intend to be in our body. So I agree with our body being the best purifying agent in the world.
Right.
But there's some things that it just doesn't know how to deal with.
Right. Well, and it'd be no different than we think about, people that are drinking bad water and then they get cancer, and we know the cancer was caused by the toxins that they were drinking. We know this. This is not foreign information to any of us. Anybody that's awake and is watching news knows that this has happened. There are external things that have caused cancer. Nuclear radiation. Okay, what is that? Well, that's our bodies going, whoa, we can't deal with that. On a large scale. On a small scale, it could be, I eat McDonald's every day, all day long, and that's bad for my system. We know that's bad for our system if you eat terrible food all day long. We know it. That's why doctors say, yeah, what are you eating? You're 40 pounds overweight. Maybe you ought to change your diet. If it didn't have an impact, they wouldn't say that. So, yeah, our external things that our body comes in contact, whether it's in the air and the water and the food, it negatively or positively impacts our body, whether it's good or bad. So I knew my body was in a bad shape. I needed to get the bad stuff out. And this was just my first attempt at detoxing.
So take us back. So you're buying $8, you're buying $50 worth of juice a day or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So how long does that take? How long before you start seeing results? Did you see results, or how are you feeling, and what did you go through when you were doing that?
So this is a good question, and it was an interesting time because, the doctors didn't know, because I'm in an unknown. They basically said you have a terminal diagnosis. Most people don't live 7 months. The first thing we got to do is keep you alive. Okay, great. They kept me alive, got me out of the hospital. Next, they say the next thing we got to try to do is get your system and your body, the cancer, down enough so we can try to do a autologous stem cell transplant with you, which is basically taking my own stem cells, bone marrow, putting them in my body and trying to reset my immune system. That's what a stem cell transplant does. And that was the first and only real thing that they had to try to keep me alive. But they didn't even know if I would get healthy enough to be able to go to that next step, because a lot of people with my diagnosis don't get that healthy. So all I was thinking is, holy cow, I've got to do this fast. I've got to quickly get my body healthy. So when you ask, did it work? Well, they didn't know if it was going to work at all. So I started pounding my body with good food. I started eating a salad every day when I ate. I was still trying to wean myself off cheeseburgers and pizza like the rest of Americans. But I was drinking this juice. And if you drink green juice, it literally, it rips things through your stomach. It will send you to the bathroom. I'm not kidding. And that's just part of the process of how it works.
So right there, that's a key right there. It's not any juice. It's not Minute Maid, out of the freezer from concentrate that you could leave out on the counter for 4 days and it still just is. It still tastes like the day you got it.
Right.
That's full of preservatives and other things that aren't 100% juice. Now there are good juices out there, but you said green juice. Why? Give us the difference between green and maybe a beet and carrot that tastes a little sweeter, more sugar and stuff like that.
Right. When people talk about juicing, the average person thinks, oh, apple juice, orange juice. No, I actually...
Not grape juice? I like grape juice.
No, I like grape juice too, but I killed all of that because sugar is awful for cancer patients. And we know this because a PET scan basically essentially is injecting yourself with sugar, and then the scans... The cancer attacks the sugar because it feeds off sugar. So one of the things I learned was stop eating sugar. Cancer loves it. So I said, okay. So when you drink juice, you don't want to drink orange juice. You don't want to drink apple juice with all the preservatives and all the sugar. You want to drink low glycemic index juices. And so that would include spinach, kale, some lemon, maybe some ginger, all kinds of mixed greens. Look, for someone like me, that was a new experience, and it was not pleasant. It was not the tastiest juice I'd ever had, but I wasn't drinking it because it tasted good. I was drinking it because I needed to cleanse my system. I needed to get good, healthy nutrients and enzymes into my body, and I was pounding my body with these nutrients and these juices.
Well, and so even ones that sound like vegetables can be high sugar. Beets, carrots.
Yes, and they can, and some people would really warn about that. But I also read the positives of some apple in your juice. So I might put a quarter of an apple in those green juices just for a little bit of the sugar and sweetness to make it taste a little bit better. But there's also so many other good things in apples and carrots. So I would throw in a carrot juice a day, or on the next day I would throw in a beet juice because they have so many other good nutritional value that was positive for my system. So the juices were actually doing two things. They were detoxing my system and trying to get all those toxins out. And they were also pounding my body with super nutrients. I mean, antioxidants and, kale and all these great superfoods were in these juices. And I was just pounding my body with this stuff. So it was completely new to my system. I'd never done this in my life. So my body was going, wow, this is really good. I'm getting crap out, getting the chemicals out. One thing I learned is when I asked the doctor, I said, how long does this chemo stay in my system that they gave me to keep me alive for the first 2 weeks? And they'd say, oh, it'll be gone in a couple weeks. And then I started reading more medical literature, and other doctors were saying, oh, no, that stuff's going to be in your system for 9 to 10 months. And it's a biohazard. And that didn't sound great to me. So I'm thinking to myself that I should get it out of my system as fast as possible. So that was just my thought process. Right or wrong, that's what I did. And, did it work? Well, here's what happened. Physically, I started feeling better very quickly. I came out of the hospital and I started gaining energy quickly from all these juices and all this energy. But from a medical standpoint, my labs, within 8 weeks to 10 weeks, when I went back and saw my first oncologist, he was so excited. He's like, this is incredible. He's like, you're essentially in a remission from the cancer in the last 2 weeks. And they had me on a very mild chemo regimen after the hospital. Very mild. It wasn't the big things yet, like I had in the hospital. And they couldn't believe it. I was ready to go to stem cell within 2 months, and they didn't know if they would ever get me to that point. And they were blown. I could tell by the reaction. They're like, look at these levels. This is incredible. I didn't know what the heck they were showing me.
Yeah.
I was still getting used to all this stuff. So from my standpoint, I look at it and say, well, did it work? I felt better. I dropped fat weight off my body. I seemed to have a lot more energy, and my labs were incredible. So I thought, well,
And that's the only thing you changed was
it.
your diet.
It was diet and detoxing.
And you were doing chemo, the different types of chemo.
Yeah, but it was very, at first when I came out, I really wasn't on a regimen. And then when I saw my specialist, he started to put me on something. So I did nothing for like a few weeks. And then I started getting on this mild regimen to try to keep the cancer down. And that regimen and the juicing and the diet changes caused me to get in the perfect place that most of people with my diagnosis don't get to very, very quickly. So, I'm sure the oncologists probably say it was all the chemo, and I'm totally convinced it was the combination of both.
Well, it had to be. I mean, it just has to be. I mean, I see the effects when I've been on this cleanse. I'm doing the Anthony Williams, the medical median 369 original cleanse this week, which is 9 days. And it's not the worst one I've ever done. I've done Colorado cleanse. I've done the Sacred Heart diet. If it's a fad, I probably tried it and it doesn't work. I mean, I lose weight and then again comes right back.
Right. By the way, that's what the doctors say. They'll say most people do cleanses to lose weight, and it will cleanse your body out and you'll drop some pounds, and then you go back to your normal diet and the weight comes right back.
Yeah. And this one specifically, what I like about this one that I'm doing is it's really geared to, one, getting my digestive system working at full capacity again, because that's what really slows everything down. Because your digestive system's not working, it's just keeping all that poison inside you, or whatever, preservatives, high metals, whatever it is. But it's also making me eat correctly. I'm not starving myself. I mean, the first day I ate, lean meats, ate salmon and ate salads, and but I'm drinking so many smoothies. But apples, you bring up apples. Apples is a huge part of this cleanse. I eat 3 apples a day.
Yeah, they're great for you.
And applesauce, because I didn't realize how great it is for your liver.
Fantastic. Yeah. That old phrase, when I was a kid, they'd say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. There's a reason they said that.
My dad actually said the other day, and he's a type 2 diabetic, he said a Snickers bar a day keeps the doctor away. I said, I think that's not true. I don't think that's how the story goes.
Dad, where'd you hear that?
After I found his stash of candy. So it goes on. Everybody has their own way of looking at things.
It's true.
And that's the other thing is, we talked about this, and you have been around it as much as I have. There are some really crazy health nuts out there.
Absolutely.
And they're so extreme. And even now that I'm learning more of this and I catch myself talking about it, I put myself to sleep because it is so insane, some of the stuff.
Yeah.
And it gets so overwhelming. But it's important. But how do you find that middle road? Like, you had to go extreme for you.
Yes.
But how do you balance to keep some sense of enjoying life?
Well, and that's it's a hard thing. Now, early on, when I was literally do or die, to me, I was like, I have to be as extreme as possible just to survive. So I think if you're in that chronic state and your cancer's running wild, then I think you should do, and anybody should do, anything and everything possible to get them back. Normal life is a challenge when you're in that state because you're fighting for your life. And so you really need to do anything and everything you can to make your body healthier and able to, number one, withstand the chemo. Because a lot of people don't realize many people die from chemo, not the cancer. It's not the cancer that kills them, it's the chemo often. So when you're trying to balance all these things, you've got to remember, all right, I'm in a fight of my life. The cancer's out of control. I need to do everything possible. That was my thought process. And so that's what I did. Normalcy wasn't part of my mental thought. It was do everything that I can to get past that. Of course I did. And I went through those procedures and I changed my diet and supplementation. And we'll talk about that in future podcasts. But the first thing was to clean it up. And I just knew how I reacted. A lot of times people say, well, how do you know it works? I'm like, well, how did you feel if you did it? You know, I mean, do you have to ask a doctor how you felt? Just how do you feel, right? And so for me, I was like, wow, I'm supposed to be dying, and I'm starting to feel pretty good even after all this crap. And my levels are good, and the doctors are saying, wow, seems like it's the right thing to do. So I was positive about that. And, you know, I continued to learn, and I didn't know how to balance, Frank. I was trying to do everything I could.
So your levels are going down. You go to you have your stem cell transplant. When did you feel comfortable to go have a cheeseburger?
Great question. So I had to get through all that, and of course I changed diet and did other things we'll talk about later. But I became able to what I call live normal. I had this huge routine, and we'll outline that in the upcoming episode as well. And I was doing everything all day long, and of course I was working, and I figured out how to find this balance between I'm going to do, you know, green juices, the food, my protocol that takes me through every day, go to work, that, you know, then it would come down like right now, I'm in a good spot. So on the weekend, it's a weekend, you know, if the family wants to get a pizza or something like that, I'm like, okay, I'll have some pizza and a salad or whatever. I don't abstain from everything 100% all the time, because I think mentally I'd lose my mind, you know, and every once in a while I'll have a dessert, but I don't do it often. You know, I just don't do it every day.
That made me think of a funny story. I remember when we were doing that weight loss challenge, and you won, but we were in the final days, me and you were neck and neck, and I sent Papa John's, or I sent Libretto's. I sent Libretto's pizza to your doorstep.
That was cold, man.
And inside the box, there was a picture of the Godfather.
That's right. We were competing in this weight loss competition, and Frank sends me a pizza the night before weigh-in. I'm like, come on, that's cold. That's cold.
Pizza and wings, because I knew
that's
you
right.
could not. You couldn't hold back.
I couldn't, and I did have to eat a piece of that.
But you did still beat me, so it didn't work. So
You're listening to Dead Men Talking.
You are listening to the Dead Men Talking podcast, brought to you by Helix Lifestyle. Helix Lifestyle is a philanthropic company discussing the healing process through research and clinical success. If you know someone who has cancer or whose life is impacted by chronic illness, please share this podcast with them. Thanks for listening.
Well, and you know, I love, like everybody else, I love pizza and wings and these other things. That's why some people say, Bill, don't you love a steak? Don't you love? Yes, I do. But if it means dying versus the burger, I'm going to, you know, forgive the burger. Now, some people say, well, how do you know the burger will kill you? Well, I've read a lot, and I just know it's harder for my body to digest meat than it is a salad, you know, so it's just a scientific fact. So,
well, and I always think it's funny, and I never knew this as a kid, and honestly, until you got sick, I never really thought about it. I kind of knew it, but why you could leave a loaf of Wonder Bread on the counter for weeks before it will go moldy. But if you bake a loaf of bread at home with natural ingredients and you leave it on the counter, it's moldy within a few days.
Absolutely.
So that's the same, and I know McDonald's and Burger King are not baking their own bread from all natural ingredients.
Well, you've heard the story of the guy that had a cheeseburger in his pocket, and I don't know why he put it in his
that's
coat
weird.
pocket. It's
Is
kind
that
of
a
weird.
fetish thing?
Yeah, I don't know, but he's like sticks it in his pocket, and then 2 years later he finds it and it's in the same form. Think about that. That is just disgusting, and we're putting that in our body. What kind of impact? So when people say your body will detox itself, it will. But when you're putting that in your body, it's going to make your system work harder. So if you have a chronic illness, why are you doing that? You need to be as easy on your system as possible and feed it as much positive things as you can to help your body. It's just common sense.
Yeah, and your body uses fuel just like any machine does. So if it's spending all of its fuel digesting a Twinkie,
right,
instead of killing its cancer cells, then it's not working as hard or as efficient.
Exactly. And so that was my thought process, and that's what I did, and it seemed to work. And you know, I still obviously drink green juices every day just for a daily part of my regimen and to get the proper nutrients. But it's also it's not a cleanse, but it helps my system continue to work properly.
I got to tell you a little bit about this one I'm doing, because everything that we're talking about in this podcast, I want to be a guinea pig for.
Well, and you've been doing a lot, and I don't know I want to hear what you did this week. I can tell you, this week, getting ready for this episode, I did a couple day. Well, I did a 36-hour fast. So I did.
You didn't eat for 3 days?
Well, no, 36. So I did a day and a half. So it's like a full day I didn't eat. I drank water, and I did have a green juice that one day. And then just to kind of mentally get prepared. And of course, then Wednesday I went out with clients, and I did have to have a big steak, and that ruined it all. But then I did infrared sauna, which is actually a form of detox, because you sweat like crazy, and sweating is a form of detox. That's how your body naturally detoxes. So I went to an infrared sauna and sweated like crazy for about 45 minutes in 145 degree infrared heat, which was one of the things I did, and drank lots of water and then some green juices. So what did you do this week?
Wait a minute. So this fast, let's go back to that, because this intrigues me. Because if I didn't eat for a whole day, I would be murdering somebody, because it makes me cranky. Like, I get hangry badly.
I do too.
So what does a fast do, or supposed to do?
Well, the whole thing is when you don't put food in your body and you just put water, your body starts cleansing itself. It's the way we were designed, and there's a reason that people have talked about fast since the dawn of man. It's in the Bible. I don't know how many times a theologian could tell me it's in there, 100 times talking about fasting. Well, I think religious people view fasting as a way to get closer to God, but there's also a medical reason. And so your body doesn't have to deal with processing food. And so if your body didn't have to process food for a day, 2 days, 3 days, it begins just working on cleaning up your whole system. At least that's what the medical people that I've been reading in the interviews I've been watching. I do watch a lot of webinars with doctors, and they give lectures and things like that. And I've watched a lot of them talk about this.
Well, that's what when I was thinking about what you're doing with what I've been doing this week is the question you asked is I'm doing a 3-6-9 cleanse. So the first 3 days we're basically preparing your body for the cleanse, because a lot of these cleanses, like especially like straight juice cleanses or straight liquid cleanses or fastings, really shock your body, because your body goes from running at full speed to hitting the brakes, thrown in reverse basically. And so it really messes up, because you take all these sugars and all the stuff that your body was running on, and your body starts going, wait a minute, we don't have enough fuel. It shoots your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands produce adrenaline, and then it puts a lot of stress on some of your organs, according to this book I'm reading.
Yep.
So the first 3 days are kind of gradually getting you in there. So you're able to eat meats and lean meats and vegetables. But the whole point of this cleanse is to basically get your digestive tract back on track and to keep a balanced diet. It almost goes back to elementary school. Going to the food groups, eating a balanced diet, yeah, and putting what your body's supposed to have in it. And so day 3, I made this soup, and I think I sent you a picture of it.
Oh, it did not look good.
It was incredibly bad. I don't care how pretty it looked in the bag. It was all vegetables. It was tomatoes, asparagus, spinach, leafy greens, celery, and then all blended up into this chunky mix of, it tasted like eating chunky grass. Like I could drink almost anything. Like I've drank the worst liquors in the world to catch a buzz, and that's the way I view drinking these green juices. If I could do it to catch a buzz, I could do it to stay alive. So I threw up in the sink. This was so disgusting. So that liver rescue soup, screw that. I ain't doing that. But I went to the leafy green liver rescue salad, which is a lot better. So I've been doing that. So my routine in the morning has been lemon water, first thing.
Yep. Wait
30 minutes. 16 ounces of celery juice, wait 30 minutes. And then the liver rescue smoothie that I made for us, which was pretty good, right?
Mm. Yeah, it was really good.
I mean, it tasted like a fruit smoothie.
Yeah, this is great.
Blueberries and bananas. So, and then eating an apple in the morning, having another salad, applesauce in the afternoon, another salad for dinner, and then hibiscus tea before I go to bed.
How do you feel?
Oh, I have more energy than I ever did. I went on a run the other day. This is no lie. I feel like I have more oxygen in my body. My mile went down. Like I was running, I usually run like a 12, 13-minute mile. I ran an 11-minute mile. Just had so much energy. My workouts are stronger. I'm hungry. I'm not going to lie. Like last night, I really wanted pizza or something.
Yep.
And actually, I took the asparagus I ate last night because I had to eat steamed asparagus, and I put some organic spaghetti sauce on top of it just to give it some sort of flavor. And it was actually really good. It was like eating, a zucchini kind of pasta kind of deal. So I got 3 more days. The last 3 days are when the body expels all the. So, but the one thing I did get sick one day. Like I felt like I actually was scared. I had COVID. I was about to go to the doctor because my throat got sore, my head started draining, my ears started draining, and it was reading the book. It was part of the process that those viruses and those sicknesses are inside your body. They're just dormant sometimes.
Right.
And some of these cleanses, if done properly, and you're finding the root cause and you're doing it for the right reason to get your digestive tract back on track, then it starts to loosen these things up. And days 7, 8, 9 will be, I think I'm going to have to take off work because I might be in the bathroom a lot.
In the bathroom. Well, Frank, it's interesting you say that because when I first started studying this, that one of my doctors, when we were talking about cleanse, one of the things he told me, he said, look, you may experience some of the things like you did. He said, you may get a headache, you may have fever, you may have things. Don't worry, this is the normal process. Your body is reacting to you being so healthy and cleaning it out. And when toxins come out, it can manifest itself as acne or pimples or all kinds of things. You can get welts on your body, and it's your body expelling these toxins and it's getting rid of them.
Well, it's the scary part because you said, I didn't go to the doctor for 10 years because I felt great. But there was cancer in your body
Yes.
growing.
Right.
And you didn't know it. So that's why I'm a big fan of these, but I'm a bigger fan in trying to not do it for weight loss or do it for a particular reason. But if you have an ailment, cleanses are great, but do some research, but find out why the ailment is happening.
Well, this is the thing that in all the doctors, they were talking about what I had and the things they were going to do to try to treat me, to try to keep me alive. But nobody ever addressed why I got it because they say they don't know. And I kept on saying, why did I get it? Why did I get it? Because if you know why, then maybe you can treat the root cause. And they really don't have an answer for that. So the other doctors I was seeing were saying, look, Bill, I'm not going to treat the cancer. I'm going to treat you, your entire body. If I can help you heal your entire body, then maybe your immune system can suppress the cancer itself. Because the average person gets 3 to 6 cancers in their lifetime. They just don't appear because our body and our immune system suppresses it. It just handles it. But they're existing in our body. As a matter of fact, what most people don't know, you could probably test 100,000 people and you'd find all kinds of disease in all of them, but they're just not active. So, it just seemed to make sense to me. Let's try to figure out how to clean my body out first. And that's the whole point of detoxing. Clean it out. Now, I want to throw this out. You mentioned lemon water. There's a lot of ways to detox. We're talking about juicing and some of these 3-6-9s. But if you learn, and this is what I would suggest everybody do, learn about detox, do the research. But there's all kinds of little things. Drink more filtered water. It flushes out your system. You hear about drinking water all the time to keep weight down. It flushes your system. We're made of 70% water. So that makes sense. That's actually a detoxing. Start your day with 8 ounces of water and lemon before you drink anything. That is a great detox. It sets your body up every morning. I tried one, Frank, called oil pulling, which is you swish 1 tablespoon of organic coconut oil in your mouth, and you're supposed to do it for 10 to 20 minutes. And supposedly it pulls serious toxins from your mouth. I tried it twice. I almost vomited. I mean, I couldn't do it.
That sounds like witchcraft.
It sounded like witchcraft to me too, but I was willing to try it. I'm like, God, this is awful.
That is definitely witchcraft.
It was awful. So I don't do that. But there's something called tongue scraping. They do it in India. We had someone that worked for us, and she said, yeah, my whole family did it. I actually scrape my tongue every morning and every night. But I thought, well, that's pretty simple. I just made it part of my daily teeth brushing routine. And I also learned that your mouth is a tremendous place for toxin, and you really need to have good oral hygiene for overall health anyway. So
well, think of it this way. I was thinking about this. Thinking of filters on your air conditioning.
Right.
You know, have you ever gone months without changing them?
Oh, it's awful.
You pull it out, and I got 2 dogs, so it looked like Harry and the Hendersons in there when I pulled it out the other day. It was disgusting. So, and I felt bad. People come over to my house, and I have it like that. But your mouth is the same. It's your air intake.
It is.
So you got the same thing, and that's why you brought that up the other day, and I started doing Listerine before I go into bed just to kill all the bacteria in my mouth, just to give it some sort of, because that's where bad breath comes from.
Yeah.
And you really simplify this down into 2 things that you brought to my attention that I really want to bring up that I would have never thought to do these cleanses is 1, inflammation. I never knew a headache was just inflammation. You know, inflammation, and it stems from your kidneys. Right. So I used to think I was so, we'd go on vacations and I'd go, my wife has to pee every so often. She was embarrassed that we had to pull over. I was like, I don't care. But I never had to. But that was a sign that I was not flushing my kidneys as well as I do. Since I've been on this cleanse, it's a lot of bathroom potty talk, and usually it's funny, but it's kind of weird today. But you start flushing that out. Now my inflammation's down. So it wasn't until Dr. Kim told me my Achilles was inflamed because of my kidneys, not because of anything else, that really made me realize that my kidneys and liver were taking a lot of damage from my lifestyle of drinking.
And think about that. An acupuncturist, but traditional Chinese medicine trained, told you that your kidneys were influencing your inflammation in your Achilles. The average MD doesn't treat like that. They say, oh, let's treat the Achilles. Because you'd been to a bunch of doctors about the Achilles, right?
Or they give you ibuprofen or some sort of anti-inflammatory prescription drug, which I understand. It's an easy fix. And most people want to take 1 pill to get it done with.
Right.
They don't want to change their lifestyle. They just say, give me something I could do 1 time in the morning.
Sure.
Easy, right?
Right.
So I know we got so much more in this. We're going to have other episodes of this. But I know we're running out of time. If there was one thing that you could say for somebody that didn't have cancer, and one thing they could do, what would you tell them to get started and down a healthier lifestyle?
Well, when it comes to the detoxing, I went green juice route, and I would say, so some people ask me, they say, Bill, if I'm going to do one thing every day, what should I do for better health? I say, drink a green juice. Just do it, just from a nutritional standpoint. But it also is good to help cleanse your system. The idea of a glass of water with lemon first thing in the morning is an amazing idea. Most people start their day with Pepsi or orange juice or coffee. And just starting with a healthy glass of water and lemon, or even apple cider vinegar, or as opposed to lemon. But it's just a simple thing to start your day. It's amazing what it'll do if you do that consistently. But most people start their day with a donut and coffee, and that is not the way to do it.
I still love donuts.
And it's delicious. But
there's a Krispy Kreme right across the street here.
Listen, we're going to have to do more other episodes to get deeper into detox and some of these other things. But two resources I'll give people. There's a website called HerbDoc, www.herbdoc.com. And this is a guy, and he's selling stuff. His name Dr. Schultz. He has all these cleanses, liver cleanse, kidneys cleanse. He's got one for a chronic illness, which is a huge deal, that I would do. And a lot of people have asked me, and we were talking about this before we started up, people are just trying to sell me stuff. And I've always found it interesting when I got on my journey, people would say, Bill, don't you think they're just trying to sell you stuff? Well, they are trying to sell me stuff, but what do you think is happening when you go to the doctor? I promise you they're selling me stuff. As a matter of fact, I have had my doctors tell me cancer is big business. And I think about it, gee, I'm a patient. Isn't it healthcare? Yes, but it's a business. It's a multi-trillion-dollar business. And so, okay, if I'm going to the doctor to get chemo and they're charging the insurance company $10,000 a treatment, that's a lot of cash. So why would I not expect to do a detox and pay $300 for the supplements and the things you need to do that? That makes sense. Somebody's got to make it, create it, study it, and all that. So Herb Doc is a guy that has all these detoxes. I would say look at that. There's also a guy named Dr. Mark Hyman. He's an American physician, and he's written books on detoxing and health and food, and he's an MD. And, he's the counterpoint for the other doctors that say detox is bad. He's a good guy to say, no, look, detox is not bad. It's good, and it serves a purpose and a place to assist in your system cleaning up. So I'd say that's a good place to start your education, and just do some reading on detox and see if there's things that you feel that you can do and put into your life. And listen, detox isn't something you do every day when you're, just an average person. You don't have a chronic illness. It's something you might do a few times a year, maybe once a quarter, or once every 6 months, do a 7 to 10 day or a 3-6-9, like you're doing, whatever. But if you have a chronic illness, that's a different story. You got to get more aggressive, and you've got to just go all in.
Well, and that's the other reason we're doing this podcast is you did the research. I'm the guinea pig. Let's put me through. I'll swell up. I'll get stung by bees. I'll do whatever. But we're going to test this stuff out, and we're gonna see what works and what doesn't. And we're not getting paid by anybody.
Right.
We're not advertising anything. We just want to help some people and make you guys healthier. So you keep listening and enjoy what we do here, because we're enjoying getting this information out.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. We just want people to know what's worked for me and what I've learned, and hopefully I can help somebody. I get calls all the time, people that have gotten cancer diagnosis, and they ask these same questions. So I'm hoping this will help those that are in similar situations.
So we're about out of time. So what are we going to talk about next week, Bill?
Okay, so next week we're going to get deep into the conversation of nutrition. And much like this detox conversation, we're going to ask, first off, is it important? Does it help? Some doctors say food is medicine. Is it? Let's find out.
That sounds interesting.
Interesting.
Well, that's about all the time we have today. So I'm Frank.
And I'm Bill.
And we're Dead Men Talking.
This has been Dead Men Talking. Tune in to our next episode for more of Frank and Bill.
By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical condition in either yourself or others, including but not limited to patients that you are treating. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having.